What's up, family? Man, I want to have a real conversation with you guys today. This is, man, serious. You know what I mean? But it is what it is, man. We have to grow up. Man, there's so much talk about, man, how can I be used by God? Man, I want to be used by God. And there's so many people that hit me up and, man, that's what they want, so they say. Man, how can I be used by God? How can, man, God use me to do great things and big things and da 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 and all this other crazy shit, right? Man, you don't have a fucking clue what you're talking about when you talk about you want to be used by God. You have no clue of the pain and the hell you're going to endure talking about you want to be used by God. God is going to test you when you say you want to be used by God. You know what I mean? And something that I had to learn the hard way. Man, that's not an easy journey. That's not an easy walk. That's not an easy life. See, so many people they think, man, I'm being used by God when you're great and you're doing quote unquote great. When you're preaching in front of crowds and you're singing in front of crowds and you're giving great speeches and all this other stuff in front of millions of people. You know what I mean? Man, that's a great life and da 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 and da da. I want to be used like that. I want to be anointed and appointed to do da da da. And man, you have no fucking idea the pain and the hell you're asking to go through. None. See, to be used by God is not just to be put up on a platform so people can hear you speak. To be used by God is not just to be put up there so you could sing and you could draw and paint and do all this other stuff so people could look at your work and be like, oh my gosh, look at this person. They're so great and God has used them. And God did it. No, no, that's not really being used by God. Stay with me. I'm going somewhere. God can use those people that have great oratory skills. God can use those people that have great singing ability. But see, to be used by God is to be used down in the trenches. To be used by God is to be broken and humiliated and abandoned and rejected by the world. To be used by God, man, you're going to go through some motherfucking pain. To be used by God, you're going to have motherfuckers lying on you and doing all kind of bullshit and attacking you for no fucking reason. You ain't did shit to these motherfuckers, but they coming for your fucking head. To be used by God, you're going to have to walk that lonely fucking path. To be used by God, you're going to be publicly humiliated. To be walked and used by God, man, you're going to have motherfuckers scatter and abandon you and reject you. To be used by God, man, you're going through the fucking mud. Why? Not just because, first of all, that's where the great majority of the people are at that need the help. And said again, the people that need to see God, the people that need to see the miracles, do you say, the great work of God are those motherfuckers down in the trenches. Those motherfuckers that are broken and busted and disgusted and just woo through through, they're going through it. They're homeless, they're drug addicts, they're convicts, they're down and out in society. The unwanted, the misfits, the castaways. Those are the people that need to see the power of God. Those are the people that God is going to use. Those that have been rejected, abandoned, da, 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 all the other shit. Why? Because once they get their shit straight, once they get their life straight, once they deal with their emotional trauma and their pain and their baggage, once they learn who the fuck they are, and why the hell they've gone through the shit that they've gone through. Now God can use them. See, now God can say, okay, you know what? Now I can trust you because you've gone through the trenches, you've gone through the wars, you've gone through the mud, you've been humbled. You've been humbled. Look at all the people that have abandoned you, the people that have gave up on you, the people that have rejected you, the people that didn't want shit to do with you. The people that have dogged you out. The people that say you ain't shit, you ain't never gonna be shit, you ain't never been shit. They need to see your testimony. They need to see you come back. They need to see you rise again like that phoenix. They need to see you rise from your ashes, to come up out of the mud, to come up out of the prison cells of your ego and your mind, to come up out of the dope, to come up out of the penitentiary, to come up out of the grimy and sliminess of the streets. They need to see your story. They need to hear your story. They need to hear how you were molested and raped and abandoned and beaten and and falsely accused and and how you still maintain your peace of mind. How could you have gone through all of that shit that you've gone through and still have joy now? How could you have gone through all of that bullshit and still be positive and full of hope and love? See, that's what humanity needs to see. That's what humanity needs to hear. Those are the people that have been used greatly by God. But we don't look at them as being greatly used by God because they don't have the million followers. They ain't got the 10 million subscribers and all this other stupid ass bullshit. We think those churches, those mega churches, we think it's, man, look at these people right here, this motivational speaker, and look at this person, and look at this person. Man, they're being used by God. God can use anything. God once used a jackass to speak to somebody. Said again, if you read your Bible, God used a donkey to speak to somebody. God can use anybody. God can use anything. Just because God uses somebody like that don't mean that they're connected to God. God used the Egyptians to enslave the Israelites for 400 fucking years. God used the Egyptians to humble and humiliate the Egyptians, or excuse me, the Israelites. God used the Egyptians to give the wealth of the nation to the Jews. Just because God uses you don't mean that you're one of God's. Just because God uses you don't mean that you have an intimate relationship with God. We have to grow up. We have to understand, man, you go through what you go through so that you can learn some shit. And then once you learn it, now you can now teach others the hell and how to survive, not just survive, but how to thrive. How to live a healthy, balanced, spiritual life. Because you've been there. You've been broke. You've been abandoned. You've been molested and raped and dogged out and cheated on. You've gone through the fucking trenches. And one of the things that I had to learn the hard way was, man, because again, I was molested twice by Christians at the age of 6. And so I thought God didn't give a fuck about me. I thought that God could not love me and did not love me, because if he had loved me, he would have protected me. God didn't protect me in the sense of him stopping me from being molested. God didn't protect me in the sense of him stopping my uncle from beating the shit out of me. God didn't protect me in the sense of protecting me and stopping my aunt from emotionally abusing me. Same thing with my dad. God didn't stop any of that shit. He allowed it. And because he allowed it, I falsely assumed that God didn't love me. I assumed that God didn't give a damn about me. I wasn't shit. What I had to realize was it could have been worse. All the shit that I went through, it could have been worse. Take it deeper. I went through the hell that I went through because I had some karmic debt that I need to repay, that I needed to understand. But on top of that, I went through the hell that I went through so that I could learn some things about life, so that I could now sit back and help others who are struggling with similar things, help others who've gone through things similar to mine and different to mine, but to give them a different perspective, a different outlook on life and their situation. I would not have that insight had I not gone through the hell that I went through. I would not have that understanding, that wisdom, had I not gone through the pain that I did, had I not gone through the drama and the trauma that I did. Being used by God. Some people be jealous of you. Some people are jealous of you just because you survived the hell that you did. Some people are angry and pissed the fuck off. How the fuck could this raggedy ass no good motherfucker go through all that shit? Have all these motherfuckers reject him? Have all these motherfuckers abandon him? Have all these motherfuckers talking shit against him? Have all these motherfuckers trying to set him up and sabotage him? Da, 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 da. How could this motherfucker still be happy? How the fuck can this motherfucker still have peace, still have joy? How the fuck can this motherfucker still be so fucking positive and try to be inspirational and help others? Who the fuck do they think they are? Motherfucker, when I left you, you wasn't shit. That's your perspective. That's their perspective. And they're entitled to that perspective. And their hurt, their jealousy, their rage is the fact that, man, they really see the hand of God in and on your life. They know without a shadow of doubt that you are being used by God, that you're one of God's. You're not just one of God's, you're one of his favorites. And that's what fucks them up the most. They rejected you. They didn't want shit to do with you. They couldn't have survived the hell that you did. When they left you and they saw that all these other people left you, they thought it was proof that they were right. You wasn't shit. You wasn't gonna amount to shit. It validated them leaving you. What they didn't see was the hand of God. What they didn't understand, God ordained. God allowed it to happen. Why? Because he had to teach you something. He had to humble you in some areas. And so you no longer look at all of the shit that you've gone through as a bad thing. You don't pat yourself on the back and puff up your chest and flex and floss and all this other bullshit. Come on, I'm da 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 da. Nah, you do it with humility. You talk with humility. And other people, because they're insecure and they got issues, they look at your confidence as arrogance. But you're confident in the fact that you know who the fuck you are. You're confident in the fact that you know that you're one of God's. You're one of God's chosen. You're one of God's favorite. You're confident in that because of all the hell you've been through. See, in the past, when you didn't know better, all the hell that you've gone through, you looked at it as being cursed. You looked at it as being unwanted. Nobody valued you. Nobody loved you. You wasn't cherished. Now that you've grown through the bullshit, now that you've gotten in alignment with God, now you look at it as like, oh shit, I am somebody. And I don't give a damn whether you see it or not. I don't give a fuck whether you acknowledge the fact that, man, I have the presence of God in my life. I don't give a fuck whether you think that because I curse or whatever it is that you say that I do, I rock my crystals and shit. You think that I'm a devil. I got this evil spirit, or I don't give a fuck what you think. You know what I mean? Because I know who the fuck I am. I know who I'm intimately connected with. I see now differently than the way I saw back then. Back then, I saw my pain and my trauma as being cursed and unwanted. Now I'm able to sit back and say, oh God, I don't need anyone to validate that I'm chosen, that I'm loved, that I'm cherished, that I'm valued. I don't need that confirmation from others. I got it straight from the source. I'm intimately connected with the source. I know who I am. I see the work in my life. I see the beauty in my life. I don't need other people to give me joy. I don't need other people to bring me peace. I don't need other people to make me happy. That all comes from me. That all comes from me knowing me. That all comes from me not just knowing me, but being intimately connected with God. See, the more I know me, the more I know God. The more I know God, the more I know me. The closer I get to me, the closer I get to God. The closer I get to God, the closer I get to me. The more I understand me, the more I understand God. The more I understand God, the more I understand me. We can't be separated. We can't be separated. And so, when you live your life connected to God and you know who you are and you walk in that confidence, you're going to have those haters. You're going to have those people trying to sabotage you and destroy you. But you're also going to have the other people. I was at the beach yesterday, and I've seen this gentleman quite a bit there. Elderly guy came to me, and I'm just walking back and forth, just looking for seashells and sea glass and stuff, and just whatever else I'm going to find. And so this man stops me, elderly Russian guy. He was Jew. He was a Jew. He is a Jew. Excuse me. And he starts having a conversation with me. And this guy has me laughing. And people are standing around just looking because this guy's never really talking to people, right? And he has me busting up laughing. And we stand there talking about 20, 30 minutes. And he tells me, I just buried my wife last week. We were married for 60 years. And I'm standing there and I'm like, oh man, I can't imagine. I can't imagine. And again, I buried my wife. You know what I mean? I had a wife pass away. And so I understand the loss, but I can't understand the loss of somebody that you were connected to for 60 something years. I can't imagine that. And so he's standing there talking to me. He's like, man, you're the first person I've talked to. You're the first person that I've laughed with since my wife got sick, passed away. You're the first person. I don't even know I'm talking to you. I see you walking back and forth, and I don't know what you're doing, but you're the first person I've talked to, and you've allowed me to laugh. You let me say what I had to say. And thank you. We don't understand something that simple, something that minute, that little, has been used by God. See, we want to be used by God when we speak into people's lives and we put our hands on people and we send energy to people and their life is transformed and changed. And now we can sit back and say, look, I did this and did it, and God did this to me, and God spoke to me, and God used me, and did it. And we want to be used by God for epic stuff. We want to be used by God to be grand and to be big and to have the spotlight put on us. Being used by God is living your life. See, a lot of people talk spirituality. Spirituality is not what you do, it's how you live. Say it again. It's like meditation. Meditate. See, the uninformed, and I made this post yesterday on social media. The uninformed don't think meditation is important. They don't think it's necessary. You ain't got to meditate because they don't understand meditation. Oh, all I gotta do is just pray to God and da. Miles Monroe said it best. The late Dr. Miles Monroe said it the best. He said, praying is you talking to God. Meditating is you shutting up and listening to God. You have to meditate in order to listen to God. You shutting up and getting in alignment with God is you meditating. The uninformed don't think you need to meditate. The woke, informed, think meditating is something you do. Oh man, I gotta go meditate for 30 minutes. Oh, I gotta go meditate. Oh, I gotta sit there and hum. Oh, I gotta sit there and do this. I gotta go do this. I gotta go do this. And that's my meditation. And this is me meditating. You know what I mean? And the woke, the informed, think that's what meditation is. For them, that's what it is. But for some of us, meditation is not what you do. It's your life. It's your life. It's how you live your life. You've heard me say in the past, I'm a walking meditation. I live in a state of meditation. I live in a state of being connected to God. I live in a state of spirituality. It's my life. It's who I am. Being connected to God. It's who I am. It's how I live. It's how I live. To be used by God, you have to do the work that nobody sees. See, and that's the thing the great majority of us don't want. We don't want to do the shadow work, the work of the inside up here. See, because you don't get any praise for that. Nobody sees what you're doing. Nobody really sees how you're growing emotionally. Nobody sees, man, you're eliminating the drama and the trauma from your baggage from the past. You're eliminating your anger, your insecurities, your low self-esteem, your self-sabotaging, your self-hatred. You're working on disliking you. Why you dislike you? How come you don't trust you? How come you don't love and value you? Why is sex so important to you? Why do you have to drink and smoke to calm your mind? This is all inward work, inner work. See, you got to be willing to do that first. You got to understand you. You have to understand you. You have to know who you are and why you do what you do. Man. But understand, when you look at the life of Jesus and so many others like that, everybody's a Christian now for the most part. Except for me. You know me, I'm not a Christian at all. But when you look at Jesus' life, Jesus didn't live that glamorous life like so many people do today that say that they're used of God. Jesus didn't live the lifestyle of the rich and famous. And I'm not saying that you can't be rich and famous and not be used by God. I'm not saying that at all. But that's not the life that Jesus lived. That's not the life that Buddha lived. Buddha abandoned his wealth. He rejected the palace and the kingdom and all the other stuff that went with it. He rejected that to go find him, to go find out who he really was. Man, who are you? Why are you here? Are you a child of God? Are you a chosen one? Are you being used by God? How are you being used by God? Understand, God will use your enemies just like he did in the Bible. God always uses people close to you and those around you to teach you something. It doesn't mean that they're God's favorite. It doesn't mean that they're chosen by God. They're just chosen by God for the specific task. There's been a lot of people in your life that's been used by God for specific reasons in your life. It doesn't mean that they have an intimate relationship with God. It doesn't mean that they're connected to God. How are you being used by God? Just to say that you're used by God is nothing. God can use a drug addict. God can use a serial killer. God can use a serial rapist. God can use anyone. He used a jackass. Man, who are you? Why are you here? Are you willing to do the work? The inner work, the shadow work. Living a spiritual life is a lot harder than people make it out to be. It's easy to talk about it. It's a lot harder to live it. And that's why the great majority of humanity doesn't live it. They talk it, but they can't walk it. Not at all. Man. And that's what separates us. That's what sets us apart. Man, I love you guys. Happy healing.